Hi everyone, welcome into this week's My Weekly CBS Fix. I hope you had a wonderful week. This week's video is dedicated to two wonderful Raje students, Matan and Tiffany Zilberman. Mazel tov to you on the birth of your daughter. May you have a lot of nachas from her. In this week's Parsha, Parshas Devarim, so Moshe Rabbeinu is giving his veiled rebuke to the Jewish people, and he's recounting the story of what happened and the travels up to, eventually to Israel, towards Israel, and they had camped around the mountain of Seir. And Hashem said to Moshe, he says, Rab lechem soif es harazeh, you have been traveling around this mountain for long enough. Panu lechem tzefoina, it's time to start turning northwards. Start going north. Now, in its simple meaning, they were going around the mountain on the eastern side, and they had to eventually start heading north towards Israel. Now, the Kli Yakar explains that the word north in Hebrew, tzafon, is also the word for hidden. You may know this word from the Seder, Tzafon Baruch, it's part of the Seder. Tzafon means what's hidden, the Afikomen, we hide the Afikomen. So what was Moshe's message and what was Hashem's message? That you've gone around the mountain and it's now time to turn yourself inward, which means start being inner people instead of outer people, which means stop being external but be internal, which means stop showing off, stop being loud, stop rubbing it in people's faces. And we have to ask ourselves, we're in exile today, and one of the ways for us to survive in exile is to kind of keep a low profile. And of course Hashem wants us to have success, and if we have success, we have a right to do things with our money. But do we have to rub it into other people's faces? Are we rubbing it into other people's faces? Throughout history, the Jewish people have never played the victim card, even though even though we could have. We've been persecuted many times, and the Jews say, hey, it's not fair. No, we've picked up the pieces, we put everything back together, and thankfully we've led successful lives, whether it's here in America, whether it's in Europe, Israel. The Jewish people have figured out ways, with Hashem's help, to be able to allow themselves to make more money. And when we make more money, though, should we buy those fancy cars? Should we buy huge fancy, expensive houses to rub it in the faces of the non-Jewish people that live around us? Or should we even rub it into the faces of the Jewish people that live around us? How should a Jewish person live? How should a person conduct oneself? And so therefore the Torah is saying, Panu lechem tzafona, turn inwardly, start living at a low-key, low profile. And what's the connection to the mountain? The mountain is, you've surrounded this mountain high enough many times. That means the mountain is high and it's sticking out and you can tell who it is and you can see its grandeur. But sometimes it's time also to come back down an notch. Everybody knows who the Jewish people are. The Jewish people are this grand nation. But at the same time, we have to act in an inwardly motion. We can't rub it in to the faces of either our fellow Jewish brothers who may not have as much as you, and certainly we can't rub it into our non-Jewish neighbors who may be jealous, and that jealousy will cause bad things for us. And so therefore this time, we have the fast, the 9 days, the fast is coming up, and we have to realize that Hashem's house, the Beis HaMikdash, that's what's broken, and we have to figure out a way to build that house. And that house should be our pride, house should be our glory, and one day hopefully Hashem will restore us to our earlier, loftier position that we had among the nations of the world. And until that time, that we have to wait. But until then, we hope, that God willing, hopefully we will merit to have our days restored in the days of old. So Matan, Tiffany, you have certainly turned your lives around. You become inwardly people. You become people of meaning, and hopefully you'll give that to your child as well. Thank you everyone for listening. Have an amazing, wonderful Shabbos. Take care.